All right. Call this Personnel Committee meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Present.
Alderman Narayan,
Here.
Alderman Page, President Reed,
Here.
Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Page. You have 5 present, a quorum is present.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve of the minutes for March 28th, 2022.
I move to approve the minutes March 28th, 2022.
Moved by Alderman 22nd. Entertain a second on that motion. Alderman from
Second.
seconded by the Alderman from the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Board bill, the item number 1, board bill number 6, I think we probably should just hold that over until we find a new sponsor for that. And then resolution review. Mr. Clerk, you want to go over the committee discussions, line item 1, COVID-19 safety protocols and facilities?
Yeah, Mr. President, at one of the previous meetings, staff was asked to create some COVID protocols and to also look at ways to be able to come to do the in-person meeting safely. So all of that was done. There is a report of that in the Google Drive for the meeting today that outlines all of the work or activities that have been done in relationship to that. A number of things. Well, the committee gave the staff the charge, but we really did not talk about any monies that need to be made available to do some of that work and to provide for some of the safety supplies and equipment. We looked at it in a more broad sense of things. I'm gonna go to the screen here. This particular document that is in the drive just outlines all the actions and the accomplishments based upon what the committee request was for the staff to do. So COVID protocols were written, those were distributed out to the members, meeting procedures and processes were created. We looked at a number of different things. This included having both in-person and virtual meetings combined. And that was done both for the Kennedy Room and the chambers. A number of other things were done. We researched and worked with the communications division on being able to have their staff in the chambers safely. Supplies were gotten, like the mic covers. We have supplies of masks there in the office now, and a number of other things. All of that is listed on this report. I wanted to get real quickly into, not necessarily for a decision today, but a number of things that the staff looked at. A number of offices around City Hall are changing the way that you can access their office. For example, the IT department has a buzzer that you have to push to get in. The mayor's office has now, BPS has it as well. What happens at the Board of Aldermen sometimes, and why we've had some concerns about the receptionist being in the reception area, is that when that door is unlocked and the leisure room is unlocked, people just have their reign of the office. So one of the approaches that the staff looked at was putting a buzzer on the same kind of padlock that's on the access to the offices, but also on the leisure room. So you have more control over what's going there. And there's a cost for doing that as well, that buzzer. That too is in the drive. We looked at several possibilities. One was even building a partition right in front of the receptionist desk, similar to what the comptroller has in her office. You come into, or public safety has in their office. You come into a little ante area that has those partitions there that really allows them to control how people have access to that office. That too was looked at, and what is on the screen now was a proposal based upon that. We worked with facilities to work out some of these thoughts and ideas. The other was the top of the line flagship access office technology that many of the offices are using today. IT has it, and Board of Public Service. That is a button that you would push that's at the front door that allows them to see who is there at the door, as well as it appears on at least 3 computers, so that the individuals can, and you can have two-way communications. That also has a cost, but we wanted to at least present these ideas to the committee so you can look at this in more detail and make a determination if you really want to go in one of those directions. Either way, staff does need to have, and the board needs to have, better control of how people have access to the office once they come into the receptionist area. There have been times when particularly the female staff have been there and people have just come in when the door is open and appear at their door at the office, and nobody knows who they are or the rest of that. So there still needs to be better control. That has particularly happened when the receptionist has had to go and make some copies or things like that when people have kind of roamed around. Also, there have been times when board members have left the door open over by the coffee pot that enters into the chambers, and people have entered into the chambers and the offices from that way. We didn't even know the door was open. So there are things that really need to be done in the long run that would help better secure the board. We looked at all of that in relationship to COVID, so that the idea is to be able to control and know who's in there and how to have the staff have some kind of protections while they're both from COVID issues as well as just general security. All of that information is in the Google Drive. We did all of this while still holding both committee meetings and full board meetings over the break. The other thing that we did look at, and President, your office was very much involved in that as well, and that was the two-way or the combined meetings that were both virtual and in person. The other thing we looked at is some of the members of this committee talked about having what are called sneeze guards around their desks in the chamber. So we looked at that as well, and there's a cost to that. Facilities would have to contract that out. The buzzer, the facilities can do themselves at a very low cost, really no cost to the board, in terms of putting that at least on the leisure room. But all of these are alternatives that we wanted you to be aware of and could begin to look at. This particular part of the drive has the proposal that was developed through the IT department in conjunction with the communications department. They have both here a design of how these new cameras as well as microphones can go in both the Kennedy room and in the chambers that are remote operated. They don't have to have the lines up under the rug. Presently, as you know, both the electrical lines and the microphone lines are up under the rug in the chambers. It's really, that was the technology of the day. It's become more sophisticated. So this is both the proposal for it as well as the overall review of what can be offered in this technology. This is the one that would allow for both meetings to be virtual and in person at the same time. It does allow for a number of ways to approach things and to be versatile. This particular part that's in the Google Drive gives a summary of each one of the approaches. The buzzer, what it allows for, its estimated costs, the petition at the receptionist desk, the badge access system, that's the flagship they're using, the sneeze guards around the chambers, as well as both the in-person and virtual meeting combination. And then if you go through all of that, you can begin to see in some instances, some of these items can be combined together. But we wanted the committee to at least have this information to, at some future time, have a more in-depth conversation about what the staff came up with and discovered in the process of looking at both security and COVID protocols, safety protocols for the office. That completes that part of the agenda, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. We'll go around, see if any of the committee members have any questions. I'm trying to get my list here. Alderman Boyd,
No questions, thank you.
Alderman Balmer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Oldenburg,
No, I don't have anything, Mr. President. Thank you, Clerk Kennedy.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Ryan.
Just one quick question. So first, thank you, Clerk Kennedy and staff for coming up with the COVID protocols. My question is more about the security protocols. When you were coming up with them, were you looking to see what other departments were doing during the time when there was just less people in City Hall in general?
Yes.
And so is there kind of a consensus as to what best practices may be? Have other departments allocated money for, a badge system or the various things that we just saw?
Yeah, both IT and Board of Public Service presently have the badge system. The mayor's office has installed the buzzer at the front door, and they're going to the badge system themselves.
Okay.
There are other offices looking at it as well. The registrar's office is, if you've been down there recently, they have put up a partition around their counter so you don't have direct access into them as well. And that was both for COVID and overall security protocols. So most offices now are beginning to look at different ways to better secure their offices.
Okay.
We got that specifically from facilities who pointed out all the different changes, and then we went around and looked at them.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Excuse
Yes,
me.
sir. You called me off.
I recalled you. I was missing Alderman Page. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions at this point. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I do not have the list here. If there are any other aldermen that have any questions before we move forward. All right, so Mr. Clerk, please move on. Bringing my agenda back up here. Protocols, future staffing needs. We have to, item number 2 is going to be based on that Board Bill 6. So we can hold on that. The committee will discuss, and then we need to now move into closed session. Is there anything else?
May I
No.
mention one other item here as it relates to the future staffing?
Yeah, and we're going to take that up when we take up that Board Bill 6.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
That what it did was try to do an analysis of the impact of Board Bill number 6. How many new staff it would add in, what is the present staffing? That particular overview is also, and I'm showing you here on the shared screen, that too is in the drive to help give some guidance to the discussion on future staffing.
Okay, all right. And then it looks like the Alderman from the 6th, Alderman from the 6th, you have something?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just quickly, I apologize. My computer was delayed, so I didn't raise my hand in time, but I have noticed, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but during several of our meetings on the floor that aldermen are not wearing masks. And I don't know what the appropriate way to address that is, but I personally think it's very important that, it's one thing to take a sip of a drink of coffee or water, or you're talking at the mic, but it's another thing to just not have it on. So,
I'll make sure to point that out Friday.
okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman.
A few I have approached during the meeting as well.
Yeah. Mr. Clerk, next, well, let's get ready to, are you ready to go into closed session? Anything else before?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll entertain a motion that we move in closed session as provided under the Missouri Revised Statute 610.021, section paragraph 3 and section 610.022 of the Missouri Revised Statute to discuss personnel matters.
I move for closed session.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, and entertain a second on that motion.
Second,
Seconded by the Alderman from the 5th. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Oldenburg,
Yeah, sorry, aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Tyus. We have 6 aye votes.
A vote, same motion, Alderman from the 22nd. So we will now go into closed session. STL TV, if you'll take down the stream, and between STL TV and the clerk, please. Sure that other than the members of the board, everyone else